you're solving for an unknown with a radical in it, with an expression under a radical, how do you solve?
You get rid of the radical.
So what do you do first?
You square it.
If we squared everything right now, we would not get rid of the radical.
What am I doing? Sorry. I'm still looking at a square root. You divided by pi, correct?
No.
You're talking about radical form.
Yeah, I got a radical right there.
My radical forms that I'm familiar with have pi's in them.
Okay, but
Is this radical c squared or the square root?
radical is the square root of 1
Okay.
minus c squared.
So then you square it, and what you would have c squared.
So
100.
I'm squaring just that?
No.
I have to square everything.
You square root everything in the radical.
No, but I need to get rid of the radical.
Square everything in the radical to get rid of the square root.
But if I, so you're saying just square this?
Yes.
What about everything else? The math people keep telling me if I do it to one thing, I gotta do it to everything. So if I square both sides, I'm not getting rid of the radical.
So
How do I get rid of the square root?
can I just tell you the equation in my mind?
Okay.
Okay, 250 squared and 250 equals 100 times 1 minus c squared.
Times 1 minus c squared?
Yes. But like everything, like parentheses around the 1 minus c squared.
Okay.
And then divided by c squared.
There's no radical here.
Yes, we wanted to get rid of it.
Oh, we just can't magically make it go away and just get a correct answer. And also, you've left this term off.
Yes, there's no root.
All right, so Robin is correct. We need to square something, but if we square it like this, we're not getting rid of the radical because I have two terms here, squaring a binomial. Let's do a flashback. A plus b squared equals
A squared plus b squared. A squared plus 2ab plus b squared.
yes. So I got a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. Now in our situation over here, I've got a radical as part of a. So even though I would get rid of the radical here, that radical is still going to show up here. So there's something I need to do first to get rid of the radical before I square it.
Make it negative?
How does that get rid of the, make that negative?
Yeah.
That would just put a minus sign here. We still have that radical.
Plus and minus.
Eva?
Okay, so is it still the conjugate? But you would basically multiply it by the same thing, just with a different sign in the middle.
When you rationalize the denominator, you multiply top and bottom by the conjugate. I think that's what you're going for.
Yeah.
Except it's already in the numerator.
Yeah. Okay. Well, could you multiply it by the same binomial, just with a positive in the middle of it?
Multiply top and bottom by the, or multiply everything by the square root of 1 plus c squared? Is that what you were
Are you
suggesting?
saying a plus b times a minus b?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not a perfect square, so that's not going to get rid of the radical.
Could 100 have to do with this? Because that is a perfect square.
It is, it just happens to be the number 100 that doesn't get to the heart of how to solve for an unknown.
Okay.
Uh,
Let's do something to 50.
30 minus 65. Let's see how much of that I remember. So we had negative 50 equals 100 square root of 1 minus c squared over c
minus
minus,
30.625
thank you,
divided by 1 minus c squared.
all right. Oh, that's not right.
No.
That should just be c squared.
Oh, well that's
It doesn't change the sticking point here. Glad I caught that one because I need to go through the hardest part of the math and find out that there's a careless error. All right, so when you're solving for a radical, when I have a single radical like this, the easiest or the recommended is to isolate the radical and then square it. Because as long as that's a part of a binomial, like it is right here, if you square it, you're still going to have that middle term with the radical still in it. So we need to isolate it.
so. Can we add 30.65 over c squared to the other side and then divide it and then multiply it by c over 100 to get that alone?
Yep. Let's see, that over c squared minus 50 equal to 100. Square root of 1 minus c squared over c. Now at this point we could square both sides because I have a single term here, but let's go ahead and isolate this and multiply times c over 100. And so I have 0.30625 over c minus c over 2 equals square root of 1 minus c squared. Bless you. Now we square both sides. And the radical goes away. Because the left-hand side has no radical, right-hand side, we're squaring a square root.
Wait, what? How'd you get the c over 2 and not a no negative 50?
When I distribute c over 100 here,
Oh, okay.
so on the right-hand side, you get 1 minus c squared. And on the left-hand side, I have, well, we just went through the process right over there. So it is 0.30625 over c squared minus 2 times that, which is 0.30625, run out of room, plus c squared over 4 is equal to 1 minus c squared. Now let's double check, make sure I didn't do something careless. So that squared, and then twice this, so the c's cancel out. 2 cancels out with that 2 popped in the front, and we'll include that. Okay. Feeling somewhat confident. Now I don't have a square root anymore. Now what?
Subtract 1
Okay.
from both sides.
So 0.30625 squared over c squared minus 1.30625 plus c squared over 4 equals negative c squared. Now what?
Would this be the quadratic formula now?
Ah, quadratic formula, but
No.
I've got variables in the numerator and in the denominator, so what should I do first before I do quadratic formula? You're so close.
Multiply it by the c squared.
Multiply by c squared. So if we multiply everything by c squared, I get 0.30625 squared minus 1.30625 c squared plus c to the 4th over 4 equals negative c to the 4th. we're going to use the quadratic formula, we got to recognize one thing. First off, what would the quadratic formula find?
C.
The roots, technically.
We'd find what?
Sorry, the roots.
The range?
The root of what?
The parabola.
Not yet. All right, let's get it. We're going to use quadratic formula as Erica is suggesting. We need to set it equal to 0, so let's do that and put it in sort of a descending polynomial order. So I add this to the other side, and I end up with 1.25 c to the fourth minus 1.30625 c squared plus 0.30625 squared equals 0. If I solve for the quadratic formula, I'm not solving for c. If I'm solving for c, I need to use the quartic formula, which is way complicated, and I've seen it in one place.
C squared.
Yes. C squared is our variable here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make one more substitution, just to make it look more familiar. I'm not using x for anything, so x is equal to c squared. So this becomes 1.25x squared minus 1.30625x plus 0.30625 squared equals 0. That is an x there. Now it's a more familiar form, I hope. Solving for x using quadratic formula. Once we have x, we can put cosine of squared theta back into it. We can solve for cosine of theta, and then we can solve for theta. 30625. So let's go to the next screen. So I have 1.25x squared minus 1.30625x plus 0.30625 squared equals 0. So x equals 1.30625 plus or minus the square root of 1.30625 squared minus 4 times 1.25 times 0.30625 squared all over 2 times 1.25. And what do we do solutions? answers are.
1.75.
So you go 1
5 and 0.86. 6. 0.86.
Salver, please.
0.86.
86. Let's take it out 2 more decimal places, each of them.
Top one, 1 1. Bottom one, 1 3.
All right. Anyone else get these?
Or sorry, no. Top one, 1 2. It's 9.
1, 2. All right.
So that's up.
Anyone else get these? I got a yeah and a no. Oh, you got the same thing? Ava, that's not a very convincing one. It's like you're just trying to go along with it.
Yeah. I am really confident that they got it right.
Yeah.
All right. I'm not as confident, but.
I got 2 point something.
I don't know.
Tatiana?
For one, I got 1.51163.
1.5112.
Oh, 163. 1.51163. Second one,
1163.
0.121182.
0.12.
1182.
You got either of them? What did you get?
I don't think I did it right.
What'd you get?
0.07755.
Type. 2 point
0.
0.
0 point
0.7755.
and
0.96.
0.9.
6745.
And there was another answer somewhere, I thought. All right, time to place your bets. Still feeling confident, Talon? You did it right?
Sorry, I'm not fully here today.
Yeah, I'm feeling a little off today, too.
I'm getting what Stephanie's getting. I don't know if it's our calculator.
My calculator might be wrong.
What'd you get? Something completely different?
For plus, I got 0.6898506797.
And the other one?
I have not even put that one in yet. Oh, were you wrong?
I forgot a parentheses.
All right. Ash, do you have a different set of answers?
The third one.
You got that one?
Yeah. I got the third one.
All right, so I feel
Yeah.
like groundswell here for this one.
Yeah, I forgot. I just checked. I forgot parentheses.
Abby, you get something completely different?
No. For the bottom one,
You got what again?
for the bottom one, for the top one, for the third one, I got the same thing. But for the bottom one, I got 0.6110.
We are all over the place on this one.
Can I borrow your calculator?
All right. It would help to settle on something, or we could just keep going with one of these, and then if we end up with no correct answers when we check it, then we come back and redo this part. All right, Erica, what do you get now?
For plus, I got 1.751.
Okay.
1, 2, yes, I got that one. And minus is 0.8613.
So you got what Talon got the first
Yeah.
time.
And
But Talon, you said you forgot a parenthesis
I
somewhere.
added the parentheses.
Yes, the third one is right. The third one is right. I just double checked on my decimal, so they're never wrong.
So I'm still feeling like a groundswell here, but we still have a difference of opinion.
Move that top part.
All right, I'm inclined to push forward with this one,
I
but
need to put parentheses before that, so that way it's not at the top there. Right now it's minusing
anybody feeling confident that they
all that.
did it
from
correctly
that.
but did not get this? Gabby, are you okay if you go with this one?
But it should,
All right,
it
Ash?
should be separate from this.
All right.
So that's fine.
So what we're saying here,
Thank you.
this is x, which is cosine squared. So cosine squared theta equals 0.07755. So cosine of theta equals plus or minus the square root of this.
What?
And what is the square root of 0.07755?
0.27847.
0.27847.
847.
And cosine of theta is equal to the square root of the second number, plus or minus 0.9.
67.
Oh, you were just reading
No,
that.
no, no. I'm just reading up the number. Sorry. 9836.
All right. So right here we have 4 potential solutions for cosine of theta. But when we solve for theta, recognize that there are 2 angles that will give me positive, 2 angles for which cosine of theta gives me positive 0.27847, 2 angles that give me a negative 0.27847.
7 at the end,